What's going on YouTube? It's Tej back again with another video, and today I'm giving you the Miami Dolphins 2021 season preview, the second of now 32 videos in this series. I'll have the playlist somewhere here on your screen. Basically, the only one we've done before this is the Buffalo Bills. After this comes the New England Patriots, then the New York Jets, then we move on to another division in the AFC Conference. Got some good feedback on the first episode, so we're going to keep going. And today we talk about the Dolphins. Comes at a good time. I'm recording this a couple days removed from the 5 interception in practice. God forbid Tua does that in a day. We'll talk about that a little bit later on, but hopefully you all enjoy today's video. If you do, please hit that like button. It would help me out a ton. And if you're new to the channel, like what you see, want to help us get closer to 100 subs and eventually hit that milestone, please hit that big red subscribe button and comment away your thoughts for the Miami Dolphins. What do you think about Tua? What do you think this team's win projection should be? I'd love to have your thoughts down in the comment section. I respond to every comment. I'd love to talk to you a little bit about the Miami Dolphins. Without further ado, if you missed that Bills video, everything on the screen here, I'm open for debate. This win range, in my opinion, is like lowest to highest. I thought about making it 13 wins on the high end. They could go 13-4. It's a great defense, obviously, and a great head coach in Brian Flores. But I do think, ultimately, I think it's going to be in not this upcoming season, but the season after that this team really could emerge as a Super Bowl team. But obviously, that takes steps forward from Tua Tagovailoa. This is obviously his first year in a new offensive system, right? Chan Gailey resigns, leaves the organization however it was officially worded. He is no longer there, and that was more of an offense built for Ryan Fitzpatrick. So, new system, ideally catered towards Tua, and, they could have some success right off the jump, but I think in year 2, when he's more antiquated with the system, everybody really will be. Ideally, that's when I think this team takes that step forward, but still, 9-12 wins easily puts this team into playoff contention. That's a very realistic goal. I think in my season predictions video, I'll have that somewhere here on the screen as well. I had them in the 7 seed, if memory serves. And I mean, it's a deep AFC. It's tough. I have 3 teams from the AFC East getting in: Bills, Pats, and Dolphins. So it's a slugfest. And I mean, that's with the Steelers not making it, which I think they have a shot. I think the Raiders could do it. The Chargers certainly could be in play. And that's just teams that immediately come to mind. Denver Broncos could be in that contention, especially if they get Aaron Rodgers. Then you probably knock the Dolphins out of here. Well, almost assuredly you knock the Dolphins out of here. Regardless, talking about Miami, 9-12 wins is a good spot, right? I've projected this team coming away with 11 wins. I would put them at 11-6 with the 17-game schedule. And I think that's a good step forward, right? They had double-digit wins last year with Tua and Fitzpatrick QB combo. And I think this team's only gotten better. On the offense, obviously, you ideally have, a step forward from Robert Hunt. You draft Liam Eichenberg, who, again, we'll talk about later on. The plan is for Hunt to play guard, which I think then you move Solomon Kindley over to that left guard spot, which he was pretty good last year, honestly. So he could take a step forward in year 2 as well. So overall progression for those young guys on the offensive line, that's what you're expecting. Austin Jackson as well. And then this team also made great strides in regards to weapons for Tua, right? Another year for Mike Gesicki. Devontae Parker's still probably your number 1, but you draft Jalen Waddle at 6 and you sign Will Fuller. And you look at Deshaun Watson's split stats with Will Fuller on the field versus without. He has that Deshaun Jackson effect to him, where the numbers just go up with him being out there, even if those numbers and those receiving yards and efficiency numbers, if they aren't necessarily going to him. He just makes defenses respect the deep ball, and it opens up things underneath and over the middle parts of the field. And additionally, he's a great downfield big play wide receiver. Though last year, prior to him getting suspended for the PEDs, which he's going to miss a little bit of time for at the beginning of this season, he's improved as a wide receiver. This guy knows how to get open now, and I'm a big Will Fuller guy. I'm a Notre Dame fan, for those who don't know. He has made big strides as a guy who can create separation on his own, so I'm excited to see what he could do for Miami. And then you draft Jalen Waddle, as I mentioned. He's got great downfield speed. He is what I would ideally want in a slot wide receiver, that guy who can stretch the field from that slot position. And additionally, he's fantastic after the catch. Bubble screen machine. This guy is going to be fantastic, and he's somebody who can make the game easier for Tua. A little bit worried about the backfield, but Myles Gaskin, Savon Ahmed, that's a fine running back duo, and Flores comes from that Belichick tree. They like to have a committee anyway, so do you really need a bell cow? I don't know. I think this team has enough talent there. Now, if injuries start to pile up, then we'll have a different discussion on our hand, but as it stands right now, it's not going to cost you any big games. We've already, established running back is not the most valuable position on the field. So I think they'll be okay there. Realistic goals mentioned, make the playoffs. I have them making it as a 7 seed. And then a reach goal, if you're unfamiliar with that term, it's like when you applied to colleges, right? You had your schools you knew you could get into, and then you have those schools, your Harvard, Yale, Stanford, yada, 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 which you may not hit the criteria for, but it's worth taking a shot. Or even if you didn't apply to college, it's like, this job I know I can get. But this is a job that, isn't necessarily entry level, but I'm going to go ahead and apply to it anyways and see where I stand, So this reach goal, make it to the AFC Championship game, which, even that's not out of the realm, right? Like, if Tua's efficient and is a good game manager, minimum, with that amount of weapons behind him, if the offensive line can be good enough, creating enough run lanes, and they can, run the football at least at a league average rate, it's going to be a good enough offense. And they have a fantastic defense. And you add Jalen Phillips to that defense that was already really good last year, it's going to be a scary good core. Plus, Byron Jones was battling injuries. You assume Xavier Howard's going to play. I know he's holding out right now looking for a new contract. But regardless, assuming you have both those corners on the field, Jalen Phillips, I think he is a guy who can make an instant impact. It's a scary good defense. So even the reach goal, make it to the AFC Championship game. I'm not even saying winning it, just to make it there. I'm not ruling that out. I could definitely see a world where the Dolphins are able to make it there. But let's go ahead and talk about some of these X factors. Like Tua, I don't have to talk about a whole lot. Like, this one makes sense. Second-year QB, and he was, of the big three quarterbacks, and a couple drafts ago, right, you had Herbert. He busted on the scene in a big way. He looked great last year. Joe Burrow, obviously had the injury, but before that, you saw a franchise QB. Tua was the guy where we haven't seen that yet. So obviously a lot of question marks about him. And I'll talk about this 5 interceptions in practice thing. It's ridiculous. When did we start keeping track of picks in practice? Like, what? You're going to start keeping tracks of, when I used to play baseball, you want to keep track of my strikeouts and inter squads? Or if I'm at a basketball practice, played basketball too, you want to keep track of every missed shot I had? Like, come on. Like, it's one thing when it's done internally, right? But it's another thing when it's like ESPN's reporting on Get Up, like 2 or 3 5 picks yesterday. Oh my God, the world's, it's the end of all time, So I think it's definitely overblown. And additionally, what I didn't see from Tua is something he had, and it was the ability to play aggressive, play with that edge, throw the football like you're better than everybody. And it's something I talked about in my QB rankings too, with someone like Carson Wentz, who a lot of the time last year to me looked scared, versus Jameis Winston, who even when he makes a mistake, he looks confident. Tua looked a lot more like Carson Wentz, not necessarily scared, but he didn't have that confidence. And if he's throwing 5 picks, he's being aggressive, and he's trying to make throws. And he really struggled in that 10 to 19-yard range. And I'm hoping those are throws that resulted in interceptions in that practice, because he's trying to find Devontae Parker on that 12 to 15-yard dig route over the middle of the field before he gets hit by Javon Holland, who we'll talk about here in 1 second. Or he's trying to throw the ball deep against Byron Jones to get the ball in the hands of Will Fuller. Whatever the case may be. I wasn't there. But also, he had 5 picks. How many passes did he throw? Like, how long of a practice was it? How many reps? How many plays did they run? Some context there would have definitely gone a long way additionally. Also, we talked about how good this defense is. Imagine being a second-year QB going against Xavier Howard, who, even if he's holding out, you make it Byron Jones, Justin Coleman, Noah Igbenogany, Jason McCourty. Like, this is a great defense, and you get fielding pressure from a guy like Jalen Phillips, first-round pick, my number 1 edge guy. Like, it's not an easy task, not an easy thing for him to go against. So I think the 5 picks is overblown anyways, but we'll leave it at that. I think Tua takes a step forward and is better this year, and I think in year 2 of this offensive system, then he could really show what it is to be a top 5 pick in the NFL draft. I'm not saying he's going to be a top 5 QB, but he can make it known that he was worth being a top 5 pick. We'll talk about Liam Eichenberg now, and right now our lads has him as a left guard. Maybe that's the plan for him. He obviously played left tackle in Notre Dame, and maybe they will keep Robert Hunt at right tackle. You keep Kinley at right guard, and you slot in Eichenberg at left guard. I think it makes sense to play Eichenberg at right tackle, right? He was a blindside protector at Notre Dame. And if you're not worried about the arm length, those sub 33-inch arms, which Braden Smith is like the only tackle in the NFL who has those sub 33-inch arms, but he's a damn good right tackle. So maybe it's a nonsensical thing that we keep track of. But if you're not worried about that, Liam Eichenberg, blindside protector for Tua, that makes sense on paper. Additionally, you put him at right tackle, at least in theory, he's not going against teams' number 1 edge rusher. Typically, that's your left tackle. But also, the NFL, good defensive coordinators like Brandon Staley. I was just listening to a podcast with him on it, and he was talking about moving Joey Bosa around. That's what good defensive minds do. So that's more on paper than it is, in actuality. But to me, Liam Eichenberg, should be the starting right tackle. We'll see as, we get to training camp and whatnot. But if he is the blindside protector for Tua, obviously he is an X factor. If he plays well, it'll help Tua and it'll help the offense overall. And then Javon Holland. I'm a huge Javon Holland. If you were around for the mock draft time of the year, getting ready for the NFL draft, Javon Holland was a guy I had as a first-round pick. He was my number 2 safety, still like Trevon Merrick, but even that was tough for me to admit. When I finally was able to admit it on video, it still hurt because I love Javon Holland. He's so versatile. This team already has a couple of good nickel corners. I think Noah Igbenogany could actually really fill that role, but they signed Justin Coleman to a cheap 1-year deal. So maybe they use Holland in that role, maybe more so in dime packages when you have a couple of interior corners. But free safety, you moved on from Bobby McCain, so it looks like Javon Holland's going to immediately get some playing time. And I love him as a free-ranging guy who can just make plays on the football. His ability to just jump and get in front of passes, it's unbelievable. His drive on the football, it's elite stuff. And that's why, you go back to 2019, 7 picks at Oregon. It adds up. You see it on tape. It's not just, a trait thing. And it's not just the combine numbers, even though there's no combine there. It's not just the athletic measurables. You see it when you watch him back at Oregon. So obviously he's a big-time player, and it's already good defense. But if he's good, then it might be the second best defense in football, maybe even better than Washington. But we'll see. Games to watch. I didn't mention this in the Bills video, but you won't see any division games mentioned here because, those are obviously big games to watch. So that kind of goes without saying. So I picked games outside the division. These are all AFC matchups, starting with a couple of home games. And I put the Colts and then the last one's the Titans. 2 teams who, I think the Titans win the AFC South, but maybe they're just in the wild card hunt, and maybe I'm fully asleep on the Colts, and maybe they win the division. So, and additionally, I have the Browns winning the AFC North. So all 3 of these teams really are teams that the Dolphins will be competing for a wild card spot with, ideally, because my projections have the Bills winning the AFC East, Browns in the AFC North, and I have the Titans winning the AFC South. But still, these are all teams that will be in and around the neighborhood of competing for a wild card spot. So obviously, these are all big games to watch. And, right away, I want to see him against the Colts defense. It's a very good core under a very good defensive coordinator, Matt Eberflus. How does this offense look in a tough matchup there? And then the Baltimore Ravens, another good defensive team that knows how to scheme up pressure. That's what Wink Martindale does best. He knows how to draw up pressure, but it's also a tough test for that defense. How do you slow down a non-conventional offense that wants to run the football a lot? And now they've added some pass catchers, so obviously a really good matchup there. And then the Tennessee Titans, Week 17. How is this team finishing the year? This is a team that played pretty well from start to finish last year. Are they able to do that again this season? And again, on the road against the Tennessee Titans, the one road game I mentioned here. But again, it's against a team that is in and around that playoff hunt. So how do they stack up against a playoff caliber team late in the year? That's what I want to see Week 17 against Tennessee. But tell me what you think about the Miami Dolphins down in the comments section down below. I'd love to have your thoughts and have that conversation with you. Hopefully you all enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit that like button. And if you're new to the channel, want to help us get to 100 subs and want more sports content like this in your life, please hit that big red subscribe button. That's all I got for you. Hopefully you all enjoyed. And until next time, my name is Tej, and I'm signing off.